I didn't pay any attention really to the news that morning. I get up every morning and I watch the news and check out the weather. And I was off work that day, so I was planning on getting my housework caught up and working in my yard. And I got my housework done, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. Um, there was like a light wind. I had my house opened up. The skies were like blue, blue. Birds were singing. And I told my husband, I said, I'm going to do this laundry and I'm going to take me a nap. I'm done. And so he come in and he sat down in his recliner, and I lay down on the couch and I took a nap, and I hadn't been asleep maybe 15, 20 minutes. And he was like, Joni, get up and go get Tori. And I was like, why? And I looked at the clock and I said, she gets out of school in 45 minutes. I'm not going to get her. Why? He's like, we got tornadoes coming in. And I said, you're crazy. He said, no, I'm serious. I said, well, I'm making me some tea. And I got up, put me some tea on. And I looked over, I never even looked at the TV. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, it's all black. He said, yeah, you need to go get our daughter. I said, okay, finish making my tea. And he's like, all right. And I said, I'll be back in a minute. It takes about 15 minutes to get from my house to the school. Well, I called a girlfriend of mine and I said, look, I'm going to get Tori. I don't know if you've seen the news or not, but I don't want Tori on the bus. Do you want to go with me and get the kids? She rode with me. We pulled in the parking lot, and this guy yanked open my truck door and said, get in the school now. And I got in, and the first tornado come through. And I was like, oh my God, okay, it's done, it's over, give my kid. I want to go home. And this guy come running up, and he said, it just hit Daisy Hill. And I was like, what are you talking about? I live on Daisy Hill. And he showed me the picture, and I was like, give me my kid. Right now, give me my kid. And he's like, we can't give her to you until the National Weather Service gives the all clear. I'm like, okay. Well, I got mad, and I went to my truck, and I was sitting there, and I turned my radio on. I was like, okay, I'm going to hear it first. I'm going to get my kid. And the next thing I know, I look up, and the colors were just, it was the ugliest color ever. And I seen the one tornado come, and then it was like another one behind it. And my girlfriend was like, what do we do? I said, strap in, because we're going to row. And if we row, we're strapped in, we're not going to kill each other. And so we strapped in, and hell balls the size of two softballs put together was just beating my truck. And I was watching it, and two was spawning off, and I kept telling her all I want to do is go home. And it just stopped and lifted and went around the school, and I guess that's the one that hit Henryville. And I was like, okay, this is it. We made it. I'm going to get my kid. And I thank God that they didn't give me my kid, because I'd have took Dan Gray. That's the path I take to and from the school. And Dan Gray was gone. There wasn't nothing. There was nothing, not even a butterfly. And so I thank God that they didn't give her to me. It took me 7 hours to get home. I was like, I know these hills now. I didn't then. I knew one path. And I tried 7 different ways. And the 7th one, I was like, okay, there's down power lines. Nobody touched nothing. I'm going through. And I went through, didn't touch nothing. And I got up Williams Knob, and it just looked like a bomb went off. And I had a guy in a army suit he flung open my door and he was like, you Joannie Fanning? And I said, yeah. He said, as of this point on, you're on search and rescue until further notice. And I'm like, whoa, I got, do I have a house? Where's my husband? Where's my dogs? And I have my daughter with me. You can't just throw me out here. And somebody said that Nanny was laying in the field, which is Marilyn Jackson, and she needed us. And I was like, okay. I said, my family comes first. And he's like, I'll meet you back up here. I got on my four-wheeler and went over there and got Nanny, pulled her out. And I don't even remember that one guy's name that was with her. But he got his legs were really messed up. And he was already took to the ambulance. And I got Nanny on the back of the four-wheeler and took her up to the ambulance. And me being an EMS and knowing how to secure people and their injuries and to secure the bleeding and stuff like that, it really helped, as far as getting them to the ambulance, because they could only get to my road and right in front of Vicky's. And so getting them to there was a big thing, And then once I got all them, we went up by Cindy and Dale's, and that's where we searched. We was searching for one of the trailers that was next door to her. It was just gone. And the guy that we carried out on a ladder, he kept saying, my son, and I finally it was a friend of theirs he was sitting next to him. Well, he was missing. Nobody knew where he was at. So that's what we searched. We searched for him. And come to find out that somebody had found him and threw him in the back of a pickup truck and had already taken him down to be stat flighted out. And but we didn't get no confirmation on that. I guess it was well after dark when we got confirmation that he was already gone, in the hospital and being took care of. So.
And in your house?
I didn't see my house for 6 weeks. It was back there. I could see it through the woods. I knew something was back there. I actually lived in a trailer, a 16 by 80 long, big trailer. And it had sucked us in and picked us up and slammed us back down and blew us out. We actually stayed with Dee and Porky. Well, we call him Porky. His name's Keith, but we call him Porky. We stayed with them for almost 3 months, and my insurance company wouldn't let us in the house because they didn't know if it was livable or safe or what have you. They finally got out and said, you can go back in, but I had big cracks across my ceiling. My floor was just like a wave. If you walk through it, was just a matter of time before you fell through it. My pipes were leaking everywhere. It wasn't safe, and we was just, every time we look up, we was just waiting on the ceiling to fall in. But it was there. It turned into a doghouse. I have at the time I had 3 Saint Bernards, a pit bull, a Jack Russell, and 2 cats, and it became an animal home. So DNR kept going back and making sure that our animals were took care of and they were fed and watered, and because we couldn't get back there, we couldn't get to our home because of the trees across the road, the trees that were down on our power lines. They wouldn't let us back. So we just concentrated on getting up here and getting everything cleaned up and doing what we could do with cutting wood and stuff. So.
And then you rebuilt?
V-Rock actually rebuilt. When they all found out that we lived back there, nobody knew that we was back there except for Lori and Vicky, just a few people up here. Everybody's like, we didn't even know you was back here. It's like, that's the way we liked it. We like our privacy. Um, but once we got back there, V-Rock come back and looked at it and said, we're going to move you out and we're going to rebuild. I actually just moved in June 15th. They just let us move back into our house. And it's not the same, but it's not home. It's home, but it's not home. My daughter, she said it great. It's a bittersweet feeling. We have a house, but it's not our house, and it doesn't have our memories. There's a lot of memories that was in our old house, and she had a hard time with it. And I'm still having a hard time. I still don't have anything hung on my walls. Um, my kitchen is the only room in the whole house that is set up, and that's only because I have to cook. Um, I sit and look at my walls every day, and it's like, I don't know. And my husband, he's like, are you ever going to hang anything? And I was like, I don't know. I did hang my cross that they dedicated. That was the first thing that I hung on my wall. And it's hung there since, it's been there 3 weeks. We've been home 3 weeks, almost a month.
How has all of this changed you as a person?
It's really the I don't know. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. I'm right there to help anybody. When this come through, I didn't know a whole lot of people on this hill. We've only been here 11 years. And with me being an EMT, I would work 16, 18, 20 hours a day and get one day off a week. And so I really didn't know a whole lot of people. And I got to know a lot of people and their hearts. And they got to know me too as a person. Because I would do anything for any one of them up here. And my daughter has started a fundraiser for Oklahoma. With her being misplaced, her heart went to the people in Oklahoma, and she's done a lot of fundraising. So it's really changed her as a person to start going doing missions and stuff. And I'm not a church person. I was raised in a church, but here within the last couple months and having to deal with V-Rock and seeing the people up here, it's really made me stop and think about going to church and looking for a church. And even my husband is the same way. And so I think it's really changed me for the better, but it's also made me an emotional wreck. Because every morning I sit on my front deck and I cry. And I thank God that nobody lost their life up here because it was very scary. And every time I talk about it, you would think after a year and 4 months, 3 months, that you would overcome that. And you don't. You sit and you cry every day. You think about it every day. And when you hear thunder, you just shudder. You just like the whole world stops and they're looking at this TV and they're trying to figure out, is it going to be like March 2nd or is it just going to be a little raindrop, you know? So it's changed a lot of fear, a lot of fear, um, a lot of crying. But we also have our good days too. We have our happy times and our get-togethers and our cookouts and we all still have each other to lean on. So yeah.
anything else you'd like to say about anything?
No, just thank you for talking with us up here. And a lot, I think a lot of us, we felt like we were forgotten. And, we understand that other people went through what we went through, but it, not a whole lot of people come around to make sure that the emotional part and the stories that people have to say and the words that people have to say, we've never had the chance to say it. And so, thank you.